happier place to be.
Maple syrup is the best. It's so good. Oh. Just be present with me and love me.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow. When they start doing this weird hello.
I'm miserable. I'm in a job that doesn't express who I am. I could go to another company and that'd be great too. And then I went and became an entrepreneur and I'm like, this is also really hard. Who am I? What do I do best?
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Arman Assadi a little bit later about manifestation and living your best life and that kind of stuff.
Starting up businesses and
the entrepreneur.
startups and the entrepreneur part. Yeah.
Starting up.
This is a fantastic chat.
We have Graham, the entrepreneur Dunlop here joining us.
Yeah. Working from home.
Working from home.
Yeah.
But on your own stuff. I mean, it fits the description.
It does. Yeah, for sure.
It's not a wantrepreneur.
Oh, what's that?
That's when you just want to be an entrepreneur and you're not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I finished a book and I finished reading another book today. So,
which one?
A new revision from Eric Pianthony, Concerto of the Rising Sun.
Ooh.
And then I'm picking out my next book to read before I get into another big, huge slog. So this is
money.
narration. So yeah. So it should be good. Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm enjoying it.
Are you done all the legwork for Concerto as well? I'm gonna have to edit it.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna do all the legwork.
Yeah. It should be easy. I did some of it.
Well, we might as well not talk about this on the show because it's gonna be boring as fuck.
Yeah.
But you know what's not boring as fuck is listening to the finished audiobooks.
Especially yours that came out, A Canadian Shame.
Adult Brain.
I mean, dude, do you have your own audiobook?
I have my own audiobook. Yeah. Well, you read it.
I know.
You
about
have
twice.
You have 20 audiobooks. Actually, it's 19 now.
That's not including the ones we did for other people, right?
No, those don't count.
Oh, those don't count. So, anyways, yeah, it's going well. I'm enjoying.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you sick of reading?
Nope.
You're officially a narrator now.
I know, it's fucking great. I'm learning as I go along here.
It'll be official when we get like the outside. I guess we should like get you. We should get you a website. Graham Dunlop.
No. I don't want any of that.
What if people want to hire you? What if someone wants you to like?
I don't. We got our own thing. I don't have time for anything.
Like,
I've got is Grimerica. I've only got time for Grimerica. Honestly, I've only got time for Grimerica right now. It's
if
not
someone does, they could use publishing at adultbrain.ca.
Yeah, there you go.
So you just have to have that.
Publishing at adultbrain.ca is the email.
I don't even know what you just said.
I've been narrating too much. I can't even talk. You know how many mistakes I make?
I could make quite the mixtape of your mistakes.
You don't tell me. I'm scared of that. Every time today I did what I thought. Oh my god! Dude,
I mean, some of the ones I hear, sometimes I hear them and you've just left them, and I just have to be like, you pronounce some words a little off, but it's fine.
Oh,
subsequent.
Today I made one so bad I thought, oh my god, if Darren picks up on this, he's going to make it. This will be in his best ofs. This is a completely non-word. It's just I say a word and it doesn't even come out like a word. Anyways,
I don't do a best of. I just delete it all.
I know. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Natasha and I were talking about.
You know, my well-being is in your hands.
Well, so is my well-being because you're my cash cow. I'd rather milk you than butcher you.
Until the time comes when I'm old, too old, and the axe comes down. Here's the best stuff we've all been waiting for.
20 years of audiobook fuckouts. I'll release it. It won't even just be an episode. It'll be an audiobook.
It'll be racist at the same time. I'll have all kinds of weird stuff going on. Oh my God.
So anyway, how you been?
Good. How was camping? You rented a little teardrop, did you?
Yeah,
weekend,
I'm trying out a couple
I saw
trailers.
those all around in the States when we drove around the States for CAC a couple years ago, for Contacted the Cabin a couple years ago. And I saw all those little teardrops and I thought, how do you even fit in there? What do they do? But
it's not
it's
for me.
pretty, it's really, it's too tight.
The outdoor kitchen is great.
So you pull out an outdoor kitchen kind of thing?
Yeah, I definitely want that, but I need a bathroom.
Right.
You know, I might get, I could see, I don't think I'd buy one of those. So that's what right now I'm trying out a couple trailers because I'm going to get one eventually because the trailer market is fucking crazy expensive and everything right now. But there's so many used trailers on the market because everyone's sort of upgrading or I don't know what's going on, but
some just cashing out probably. People are probably getting rid of the stuff they're not using. I mean, there has been a priority change in life. You know, people are like, hey, I'm not using that trailer anymore. I'm getting rid of it. Because who knows what happens with people's jobs and if they're not essential or, I mean, you know.
So I'm humming and hawing on because I need something. But do I just get something for hunting? Because I need something for hunting too. Because, I mean, it's a huge hassle to have to get up here and drive 2 hours or 2 or 3 hours to get to the hunting zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can rent them, that's fine. But the rentals are kind of like, you know, they don't really. I mean, that teardrop was pretty good. I could take that wherever I want. But other people, they want to know you're going to a campground or something like that. You know what I mean? They're not like, you can just take this thing wherever the fuck you want. I suppose you could anyway. But it's important that you kind of know the ins and outs of what to look for because I've never really done a lot of camper stuff. The only one I've ever really been in is Kyle's. I've been in that a lot. So now it's kind of like, what style, what do I like, what don't I like, so that when I get ready to buy a used one, it's something I like.
That's a good idea. So take your time and rent a bunch for now, and then you'll really figure it out. Yeah.
And then as far as those teardrop goes, it's just too small. I mean, it's too small for with the kids. It's even just too small for 2 adults. You need a bathroom. I need a bathroom. But you could tow that thing any place. Like you can't tow a real camper up to the top of chain links.
Oh, that's what's so nice about that is when you're in your truck, you can bring it everywhere. That's the key, right? So you can go off road with it basically, which you can't with most trailers, I guess, right? So
yeah. So then I hum and haw about what kind to get because my truck can only tow so much.
Well, don't they have an off-road tent trailer that's bigger than that one? Like, have you ever tried a tent trailer?
Now is a tent trailer because I could put the boat on top of it.
Yeah.
That was T-Bone's actually idea. I hadn't considered that because that's the problem is hauling the boat and the camper.
Yeah.
I got that headache rack on there now, but it's fucking a little precarious to get the boat on and off of that.
Plus you only have so much room now in your truck as well for stuff. So
yeah, exactly. But that tent trailer with the boat strapped on top of it might be the key.
Yeah.
The thing is, can I get a tent trailer with a bathroom in it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Or with at least an outdoor shower maybe and a toilet. I got a couple little girls that go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I can't be running to the fucking outhouse at 3 in the morning. You know what I mean?
It's scary too.
There's a couple times I had, what?
Animals around and stuff.
I don't know if it's scary so much as it's annoying. Like last night I got to go on a bathroom walk. I fucking, you know, when I'm like ready, in bed, falling asleep, we got to go to the bathroom. Okay. Well, I just go at the door. And Natasha has to go to the bathroom. So now I have to get up, get dressed, go for a walk, come back.
So you got to take all 3 of them for bathroom walks.
Well, the kids weren't with me this time, but yeah, normally I would. When I go with the kids, I would rent the ones with the bathrooms. But I think maybe next spring I'll look at getting one.
Right on. That's good.
Camper life. I can't do a tent anymore. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Set up the tent, and then there's no like. I just can't do it. You know, maybe I'm weak. Maybe I'm old. But I just can't do the tent thing anymore. Sleeping on the ground, that fucking air mattress gets freezing cold by the time you wake up in the morning, and it's like all the air's out of it, and it's just.
I know.
I just can't do it anymore. So if it's either I cut camping out of my life, or I get myself a bed I can pull around, and a kitchen.
Well, you can't get camping out because, like you said, you're hunting too, and you're kind of getting more and more into the bush. So,
well, that's kind of what I was looking at is getting a light camper I could take all the way up to the hunting spots and kind of be wherever. But now I think I'm going to settle for something that's got a couple slides and the kids it's comfortable for me and the family.
Yeah.
And then I can still use that to get
Almost where you need to go.
8/10 of the way to the fucking camp spot, and then I can get up at, say, fucking 5:30 a.m. and go hunting instead of getting up at fucking 3:45 here so I can drive 2.5 hours. The elk hunt, we leave here at like 3. We have to be in Suffield for orientation at 6:30 a.m. But try and find a hotel in Suffield, fucking Alberta.
Yeah.
You're coming on the elk hunt this year.
Well, I will if there's room. I mean,
There's
if
room.
you don't need, if the other people don't need to go more than I do, because I would easily just like
It's going to be
give
me,
my
you,
spot to
Miles, and
somebody.
Brady.
All right, okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't snow.
Hopefully it's not a 5-kilometer hike.
Hopefully it doesn't snow.
Yeah.
The snow is what makes for the hiking because it makes a lot of the roads that we want to go down and pass. We
Right.
have to walk the entire way.
Right.
So if it snows, it sucks. We have to walk.
Yeah.
We're going to bring shovels this time. Lots of shovels.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll go. Hopefully
right.
bag an elk or 2.
Sounds good.
Fucking rights.
So anyways,
So what do you got?
Well, I went and did this assessment from Arman's website, his Evo assessment. So, I mean, it's fantastic. It was hard though, because what's that for?
I don't know.
Because I said it was hard?
Yeah,
It's hard because of me.
I figured.
Because I've changed a lot. I used to run, like hockey teams and departments and businesses.
Oh, yeah.
And I was more of a leader. I used to go out
play hockey
every
and
night.
play
I used to go
sports.
out and do something. I mean, now, I've
girlfriend's in
changed.
the window.
I've changed quite a bit.
She's your number one fan.
So it's tough. So my top 3 crafts are chief, cultivator, and advocate.
Remember when you used to have to rush out to ball hockey all the time? Or
That's
all
what I
these
mean.
things.
I know.
Now
I had
it's
all
just
these
like you're
things.
never in a rush to
Now
get
I'm just
anywhere.
working for Grimerica. It's just like
I wonder if the
straight
show's
up.
changed since we quit working together.
Yeah, probably. So my Evo type is relational architect. So when we talk to Arman, we'll talk about this a little bit towards the end, I believe, some of these analysis. So basically my main brain type is architect. My main compass is relational. And then I have strategic and alchemist in there as well. So my external brain type is alchemist and my internal compass is strategic. So it means this means that every other element of my type serves how I process information through very detailed perceptions and personal experiences. Does that sound like me? The information in your mind is clearly organized like a filing cabinet or a library. Although your thoughts may not always feel organized, you can almost always retrace your mental steps to figure out or remember the information that you need to know in the moment. This makes it easy for you to pull out lots of little data points from memory and reconfigure them as you need to create something new. Your architect brain makes it very easy for you to see all the sequential steps necessary to make things happen.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think so, but I think that's almost more what it used to be. It'd be I almost feel like doing it again in a way, because I was struggling with the old Graham versus the new Graham in a way. It's weird.
OG. How long did it take you?
Not like 20 minutes or something.
And there's one
Yeah.
for me to do?
Yeah.
I'll do mine next time.
Yeah, do yours next time for sure. Anyways, it's really interesting, and it's a 37-page assessment. So I'm just like literally skimming the top of it here.
Was any of it close to your D&D character?
Vampire?
Because maybe your D&D characters are closer to the real Graham.
Probably.
What's
Is real
his
Graham a
name again?
vampire?
Throng?
Trance? Throng. That's gonna be. I'm gonna put that down. See, I'll make a note of that. I'll put it in my filing cabinet for the next character. I'm gonna be Throng.
D&D names in your D&D file.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a problem. Your only fucking filing cabinet is D&D. It's taking over the place.
Oh, that's hilarious.
D&D and audiobooks.
So I got an operation project for you too. It's gonna be an interesting one. Brand new segment. I also got an email to read, some from the contact form.
An email to read?
Yeah. And I got a quote from also emailed in from Chester.
Chester?
Yeah.
Chester the molester?
I knew you were going to say that. Chester.
Maybe you're psychic. All right, let's go with
Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget to rate, comment, and or subscribe to the America
Newsletter. Okay, we got on a realistic perspective on changing climate with Randall Carlson Part 1. This is on the YouTube channel. We started posting some of that 100-day-old Rockfin content onto YouTube.
Ooh, that'll be interesting. I thought we were going to have to be careful about putting some of that stuff on YouTube. I mean, that might get us booted.
Is Flavor Jewish?
Somebody's asking that?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Why does
Just
it matter?
asking. He does go on about the Jesuits quite a bit. I suppose if he was Jewish, it'd be okay. It's okay anyway, as far as I'm concerned. He hasn't said anything inflammatory. Randall is my spirit animal. Someone show this to Jimmy Dore. I'd love to know what Randall thinks about the Suspicious Observer YouTube channel.
I would too.
That dude's videos are scary as shit.
We had Ben,
here
we
we
had
go.
Ben on. We had Ben on about, I don't know, 6 years ago, probably 5 years. It was a long time ago. We had Ben on. And we were going to try and have him on again. We should.
Why don't you get him on for
Rockfin.
Rockfin?
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay, we got on What Climate Crisis with Tony Heller
Oh boy.
from Blizzard Gator.
You put that on YouTube too?
Yeah, I put it all on YouTube after 100
Oh,
days.
jeez.
Can we get a
booted.
strike or something?
Okay.
They don't seem worried about that. Just COVID these
Okay.
days. Everything else is a go.
Okay.
This is wild. I had a couple of climate-related undergraduate university courses over the past few years, but I would never expected something like this to occur. Suspicious Observers was also covering some data manipulation. The guest is right, though. Even I was starting to suspect that the coursework was politicized. Most people don't seem to know this, but the Green Movement had its roots in Soviet-occupied Germany to decentralize power production. Environmental concerns are being used as a mask to give momentum to related politics. Climatology is such a new science that it's mind-blowing for anyone not to question it because nobody really knows as much as they claim to. In addition to weather data not going that far back, also think how the first weather satellite was launched just 60 years ago, which is also around the time Doppler radars were introduced. Modern meteorology is younger than my dad. Teleconnections of the atmosphere work fairly well for weather trends, but nobody knows what causes them to work, just how they influence trends. Young people grew up with the weather at their fingertips, but are probably oblivious to how climate science was started only yesterday. Man,
Awesome.
Speaking of climate science, these fucking forest fires are driving me nuts. Today it's clear.
Is that why you're all clogged
Oh,
up? here?
yeah, man. I mean,
Well, there should be lots of rain here now. There should be lots of rain in the next couple days.
Seems like it's supposed to rain, but it never rains. BC should just keep their fucking smoke. Honestly, I've had enough. For Militant Funk on this episode, on this live stream, which we might drop the live streams. Strongly considering it. Let us know how you feel about that.
Oh, for this episode with Arman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up listening to All of Outwitting the Devil through your advice. Thanks. I needed that. The perfect timing to have heard it. Good synchro.
Wow.
Funny enough, here we go, Militant Funk again. Funnily enough, I started to do an audiobook on Secret Teachings for All Ages by Manly, but life went to shit, plus it was a daunting first book. Then I see you and someone else has done one. Great idea and inspiring show, guys. I'm stuck in a rat race and I'm about to leave the country because of debt and starting a new life teaching English in Thailand.
Wow.
I might continue my autobiography I started when I got put in a mental asylum and pierced the veil. Haha. Love your show. This is a previous comment. I've just downloaded Outwitting the Devil after losing my book when I was homeless for a week this year. Roll on 2022. So that was a previous comment before.
Yeah.
And then type your book for Kindle, bro. That would be worth it. Sell on Amazon. Use them. Oh, also, I bought your Secret Societies book. I was a donator till my life went to shit. It's my day off tomorrow, so I'll be listening to Outwitting the Devil. Thanks. When I get back on my feet, I will buy your book. I'm proud of you. It's important. I watched a doc on an Indian kid called Charlie who walked that's Charlie's the kid who Gord Downey wrote the song.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All that stuff. Who walked 600 miles along a train track to get to his native home. His dad's spirit helped him, so the story goes. Anyways, maybe I'll do a traveling vlog in Thailand.
Nice.
Militant Funk.
Awesome.
He's always tweeting or commenting or reaching out. Seems like your guy. He wants to get to a CAC one day.
That's awesome.
Maybe we'll do a CAC in Thailand.
Yeah, he's the second guy that I've heard that started the Secret Teachings.
And gave up?
Yeah.
Way to not give up, Graham.
It's a tough one.
You should do it again. Second edition. Because I was like, when you're still very green.
Oh, you can't do it. Can you imagine? Maybe before I get butchered in 10 years.
I remember to keep off the chopping block. Wait. See your teachings. Those when you were like dropping shit in the middle of sentences, sometimes you just go back to what. Then I got to try and edit that. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
What do you want?
Quotes?
Yeah, sure. Oppo. Let's do that.
Well, no, let's do the email first. Or did you already do that?
No.
Let's do trip report, synchro, spamgram.
Spamgram.
Nah, let's do this one.
And now another edition of the Grimerican Goodies by the people, for the people.
So this is from Chris. He says, "Hey Graham, I've experienced what your special lady experiences. From the time period I was about 16 to 24 years old, I would often be visited by a dark entity at the foot of my bed who would levitate and terrify me. It happened often enough that I learned how to suppress the fear, and when I did, it stopped completely. Occasionally it tries to get a foothold again, but now I actually enjoy it. It feels like your stomach feels during a roller coaster ride, and I laugh. It seems to have worked. I'm quite sure that whatever that thing is, it feeds on fear, and it's repulsed by joy. As weird as it sounds, she needs to learn to enjoy it. Love you guys." I agree 100%. I mean, that's what we talked about with Nathaniel on Grimerica Outlawed, because we had two of our Outlawed episodes were, maybe this is from Outlawed. They're on like demons and demonology and devils and the dark energy and all that kind of stuff, and not dark energy, but dark entities. And that was one of the things that they suggested, is try and not be in fear, and try and laugh. And we talked about that. I had advice before that she has to laugh it. They don't like the laughter. They don't like the joy. And then it will get rid of them. So it's interesting how, like, what is that in your state of being, right? Or is that why also Jesus doesn't work sometimes? Because you're just not in that intention.
You gotta laugh at Jesus. Jesus.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean.
But
It's the intention, right? Like if you laugh, your state of being is in joy.
So it can't be forced laugh?
Yeah, you can't be like, hey. It's not going to work. Just like if you said, in the name of Jesus, go away. Like if you don't really mean it.
Let's hear your non-forced laugh. Is that it? That's not bad. I'll cry. So you're going to recommend that?
Yeah, well, I have already. It's hard. It's hard to tell somebody when they're scared shitless during an encounter. Just, don't be scared. Just laugh at it. Just laugh at it. Like
easy for you to say. Sounds like mansplaining.
Yeah. Don't be scared of the demon. Just laugh at the demon.
Duh.
Who's about to rape you. I mean, pretty serious stuff.
Maybe you could take it. Can you take one for the team?
I would take one for the team if I
bet you. This is the quote. Okay.
I
mean, it's only been 500 episodes. I wouldn't expect you to know the jingles yet.
We're saving the best part for last. The project operation will be a good one this week. It's our own internal project.
We have our own project?
We do now.
Operation Graham?
No, close. Okay, this is from Chester. So Chester sent me an email. I'm probably going to be able to use this for a few episodes because he's talking about a book. Have you heard of this book? Thomas Saz's book, Pharmocracy?
No.
As in PH, Pharmocracy. So Saz, 1920 to 2012, was a psychiatrist who was relatively well known in the 60s as a critic of psychiatric abuses. And he wrote many books on the subject. I first started reading his stuff in the late 80s or early 90s and mostly agreed with his positions. In 2001, he published Pharmocracy, a book in which he predicted that a totalitarian government could develop out of an alliance between the medical profession and the state. While I found Saz's book on psychiatry interesting, this pharmocracy idea seemed unlikely to me. I picked up a used copy several years later after it had been published, but it sat unread on one of my bookshelves. Then, when the COVID era dawned early last year, I remembered the book and looked around for my copy. But in this small apartment with many, many books, I couldn't find it. A few weeks ago, while looking for a different book, I found my copy of Pharmocracy. I've now read it, and it seems pretty prophetic. Read these two quotes, keeping in mind that they were written about 20 years ago.
Are you going to read them?
Page 12, yeah.
Page 12 of what?
Of the book.
What book?
The what?
Pharmocracy?
Yeah. Inasmuch as we have words to describe medicine as a healing art,
Let's restart.
but have none to describe it as a method of social control or political rule, we must first give it a name. I propose that we call it pharmocracy, from the Greek roots pharmakon, for medicine or drug, and keratin, for to rule or to control. As theocracy is ruled by gods or priests, and democracy is ruled by the people or the majority, so pharmocracy is ruled by medicine or physicians. Page 165. The founders sought to protect the American people from the religious tyranny of the state, regardless of the religion. They did not anticipate and could not have anticipated that one day medicine would become a religion, and that an alliance between medicine and the state would then threaten personal liberty and responsibility exactly as they had been threatened by an alliance between church and state.
They should have.
How's that?
They should have. Bastards.
How's that for prophecy?
Mediocre.
Yeah.
Let's hear the next one.
The next quote?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, you don't have it ready?
Well,
We're not doing two?
Yeah, I can find it for you. I got everything at my fingertips here.
World at your fingertips.
So this is on page 23. In the past, politicians seized power by declaring national emergencies. Now they do so by declaring public health emergencies. 20 years ago? Eh?
Was that SARS then?
No, it was before all that. Like, this is what I mean. It was before that string of, well, maybe one of those was back then.
I remember when I had to stay home for, if you called in sick to work, you had to stay home for a week in case it was SARS or some shit. I mean, I should have seen this coming. Back then, it was just a week of drinking for me.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a problem. All right, let's get on to your much anticipated oppo. Sounds racist.
What's that noise? Looks military to me. Definitely military. Probably classified too.
Dish Fire, Prism, Sentry Eagle, Sigma, Mannequin, Artichoke, MK Ultra. Operation Project.
This is Operation Brandy.
Drinking brandy?
No, Brandy rocks third.
Oh,
from the chats.
We're not saying last names.
No, I won't
Are
say
we saying
last names.
first names?
Yeah, I think so.
Hope so.
Maybe. I hope that was okay. So this is Rock's third from the chats. So anyways, we've been going back and forth.
I just sent her a book.
Did you? Awesome. She's been looking for a date for a Grimerica style boyfriend.
I mentioned that in the book.
Did you?
Well, did she say this was okay?
I was telling her, she sent me an email to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like an advertisement for,
I told her to email
Rock's
you.
third.
I told her to email you.
So if somebody's interested in connecting, send me an email and I'll sort of read it and figure out if I should forward it to Rock's Third or not.
If it's appropriate.
If it's appropriate.
No pics. We don't want any pics.
No pics.
No
pics. Nothing
well, maybe
risque
he does.
like
maybe
that.
he does. I shouldn't speak for Graham.
Yeah. So anyways, I suggested like going to no agenda meetups because that would be a great way to meet open-minded people.
There was one this weekend.
In Calgary?
Oh yeah, she doesn't live here.
Yeah. She's from Alabama. She called into our show 500 too. I mean, fantastic woman. What a catch.
Oh yeah, I think she's a lawyer.
Yeah. So she says, I've decided to take an embarrassing leap for my first spamgram and request that Graham read the following advertisement.
Oh boy, advertisement.
Healthy, single, organic, 34-year-old female who eagerly desires to face the challenges of existence with another truth-valuing soul. She enjoys long, maskless walks on the beach while feeling the connection to each grain dancing below her feet. Believes in natural remedies, positive energy, and sunlight. Loves delving into serious, deep conversations while trying not to be judgmental. Appreciates the gift of meat and goat's milk. Loves cute spiders. Meeting Randall Carlson is on her bucket list, along with visiting the Great Pyramid in Giza someday.
Ooh, she should come to Egypt.
I know. She should come to our Egypt trip. So here's the thing. You know what's funny and why this came up? Because I think she was sort of, she started to date a guy and she sent like, and this wasn't like an intentional test, but she's like, here, watch this video of Randall Carlson on Joe Rogan. And then she never heard from the guy again. And she's like, if that's the test if that's like, you know, the test, if Randall Carlson is the, you know, the tipping point. So she is self-reflective and ponders her true nature and how to become better each day. This process often involves prayer, meditation, contemplation on God and nature, and some Wim Hof breath work. A perfectionist, she does struggle with accepting herself and others without high expectations. Consequently, she strives to express a daily dose of grace and encouragement, a work in progress. Honestly, however, is a high priority. She will tell you that she will tell you like she sees it and expects the same in return. Attorney by day, piano player by night. Hardcore Christian, involved in prison ministry. Huge Grimerica fan and posts funny gifs in the chats. Open to a long-distance relationship. If interested, you can email graham@grimerica.com. And then maybe we'll point you to the chats. So warning, there's a warning here. Not vaccinated for COVID-19. Thanks for sharing, and thanks to the special Grimerican who helped me draft this ad. Love you guys. Good vibes. Rock's Third.
There you have it. I wonder who helped. It ain't easy.
So I would just expand on that a little bit. She would say she's looking for the following in a man. This guy, special someone, her dream man, is going to align with her core values: health conscious, resourceful, spontaneous, stable financially and emotionally, and full of good vibes. And she is, let's see here. Yeah, she lives in Alabama. She's petite, brown hair, fit. There you go.
And now you've outed her in the chat, so she'll be being stalked in the chats.
What do you mean I've outed her in the chats?
Well, I guess you were allowed to do that. It must have been okay.
Yeah.
To correlate the two?
Yeah.
We'll assume it is. Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah.
Wish you the best of luck, Brandy, in your search. And I think I wrote such in the book. Speaking of the book we've been talking about here, that's CanadianShame.ca if you want to check that out. AdultBrain.ca if you want to dig into those audiobooks. America.ca/support if you just want to support the show. You know, we're at I think this will be episode 506 or 505, or I don't even know. I've lost count at this point. There's so many. But they're all free. They're all back there. They don't cost nothing. And you can listen to the whole back catalog on this show anyway. So if that's adding some value, we did that, because it was fun in a lot of ways, but we also did that to add some value to the world. And if that's adding some value to your life, to your commute, to your work day, to your workout, wherever you're listening to the show, if you find yourself listening to us, is putting a smile on your face, making that a little better, maybe head over to grimerica.ca/support, put a smile on our face, make our day a little better. There's a bunch of ways to do that, but nothing quite does that. Like a couple extra dollars in the bank so that Graham knows he doesn't have to go back to work next week. Busting tables at this point. I mean, what would you do? You'd paint.
I would do Grimerica. I think there's no question in my mind that this is the right move.
According to Urban,
the leap of faith is paying off already. I mean, it's fantastic.
According to the Urban
Dictionary,
Grimerica is a verb. You can do Grimerica.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm going to go home and Grimerica, I believe is what it says.
Were you going to mention the Outlawed then, or the books?
Well, I was going to mention the sport, grimerica.ca/sport, $1 an episode. That's all we ask. $5 a month. You can sign up for $10 a month. You can sign up for $1 a month. Whatever you can do. Maybe you can do a one-time donation. There's Stripe, PayPal, Patreon, cryptocurrencies, which we don't really know how to do super good, but we try. We've only lost a few $1,000s worth of cryptocurrencies at this.
I was going to say, don't say it. You don't have to be that honest.
Yeah, and grimericaoutlawed.ca. If you want to check out the other show, now that one does not have the unlimited back catalog. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I think episode 1 and episode 2 are starting to drop off now. Maybe episode 3 even. But we didn't really get into the interview style, the cutoff style, into episode 4 anyway. So you want to get over there and download those early shows because they're going to disappear. We got a bonus show coming out this week with Kevin and Annette.
There's some hardcore topics in there, some hardcore conversations, really good stuff. And honestly, even if you signed up for the free version, that would help the algorithms. It would help gain traction, right? Sign up and review that show even if you're not going to pay the $6.39 for the extra half of the show and the extra back catalog. It would still help to go over there and sign up for free because we still have a few more listeners over at this show than the other show, but the other one's catching up.
That's right. Just tell your friends. Grimerica Outlawed. Go listen. Download. Love you guys, and we hope you enjoy the chat.
It's a great one with Arman. Yeah,
Arman Assadi.
All right, we've got a different type of episode for you tonight. We've got Arman Assadi here. He's the host of Flow with Arman Assadi, and he's also the founder of Steno and Project Evo, and he's been chief strategist in a bunch of startups. Super entrepreneur, like awesome thinker and philosopher as well. So it's good to have you here, Arman. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, boys. I'm honored.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I honestly, when I was looking at this opportunity with you, I was a little bit skeptical because I'm like, this guy's so successful. He's kind of mainstreamy. Like, is it a right fit? But then I started listening to your show and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. I mean, we are expanding here in Grimerica. I just quit my day job basically. So a lot of the stuff you talk about just really resonates with what we've been going through over the last, 8 years plus here. So it's great to chat with you.
I'm glad. I'm glad I got through the hurdle because it's funny. It's like sometimes you have to balance being somewhat mainstream to get the ideas out there, but you don't want to lose it. Like we were talking about, you don't want to lose who you are. I'm a non-conformist. I hope I stay weird for as long as I live.
Exactly. That's what's so refreshing about it is that you can be both. You can be a non-conformist, but you're also got one foot in that world, and that world sort of scares me, to be honest with you. I'm like, I'm like, whoa. Right now I'm kind of nice, comfortable being at home, reading audiobooks and doing our podcast,
Totally. Yeah.
And Darren just came out with a book too. He published a book. I know you're talking a lot about publishing books, and you've been through that whole analysis. So I mean, there's so many things that we could actually talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because whenever people, I kind of hate the question, but I also love the question. People are like, "So what have you been up to? What are you doing?" And it's always really hard for me because I'm like, "Shit, I need to come up with a better." Like, they teach you in the business world, like, just tell people how you help. Tell people, like, the elevator pitch is just, this is what I do for people. This is what I help people with. But then the conference, like, okay, that's an interesting way to open up. But my problem is, man, so many things, assessment and book deal and new startup and helping other startups and closing another startup. It's just a lot of shit. And I think that's just part of the curse of entrepreneurship in general, is like, you tend to be this, there's a phrase that I found a few years ago, multi-potentialite. You kind of have this way of viewing the world almost like Da Vinci. You just constantly want to try things, experiment, create. And the world has taught us to be very one-dimensional. And I think that that's good as well. Like, don't get me wrong. One of my favorite books is Mastery by Robert Greene. You guys might have heard of that. It's awesome. And in that book, it's all about depth, not width, right? And then there's another book, Range. I think it's like Epstein wrote it. Different Epstein, not the one that is in the news all the time. And it's all about, like, hey, it's okay in a world of like one-dimensionality to expand and become very good at a number of things. And I think that's actually something that a lot of people struggle with. It's like, do I go deep or do I go wide? And I guess I do a little bit of both, but the curse I have is like, I can't sit still. Like, it's all day, all night. I'm happy though that way. I'd much rather that than to be stagnant and just feel like I'm not pushing myself to my limit.
Sometimes, I mean, that comes up in my head a lot doing the show, because we are interested in a lot of different things. I mean, I did your personality analysis that I want to talk about later, and it came up so accurate. But I love a lot of different things, a lot of different topics. But then I think to myself, like, should I be going? We'll get into that later. Should I go? I'm thinking, should I go deep into, like, what if I want to do original research on some stuff? Mm-hmm. I would have to put all these other things aside to go deep into one thing. And then I think, is that worth it? Because there's a bunch of things that I would like to go deep into, but then I lose this whole thing of reading all the guest books or learning about the guests before they come on the show and approaching all these different topics. I mean, it's but I can't be an expert in anything. I really don't know anything. That's what I feel like. I just don't. Yeah. I can maybe talk about a lot of things, but I really don't know a lot.
So I'm like extremely against the idea that there is any one right approach to life. And one of the challenges, like, sometimes people are like, okay, so is your book going to be a business book, or is it in the self-help genre, or is it psychology? And one of the things that I'm always wary of is the self-help genre, because it's just full of gurus who have subjective advice. And that subjective advice is something that was anecdotal and it worked for them, and that's fantastic. Yeah. But I'm a believer in personalization. That's why I created an assessment in the first place. But the assessment itself is I'm very careful with my approach to the assessment, because obviously at the end of the day, you're given a label. It's like, Harry Potter sorting hat, you're left with some label like alchemist or architect. And so then again, you go, oh, are you putting me in a box? So you have to be very careful with your approach to these things. And ultimately where it lands is, I just don't think there's any one recipe to life. I think it was Carl Jung that said the shoe that pinches one, the shoe that fits one person pinches another. And that was just his analogy for this approach to life. And so, do we go deep? Do we go wide? I don't know. I've learned to follow my curiosities. And I think the people that I see, they're the most, I even hesitate to use the word successful.
Content, maybe?
What's the word?
Content?
Yeah. That's a great word. That's
one of my favorites.
It's continuously following that thing that keeps your brain and your body moving. And for some people, it's like they switch quickly. And other people, they like to go deep into something and be like a marine biologist for the rest of their lives. That's totally cool. Why not? We need that person in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So, what about when you start? Okay, I got so many questions here. What should we get into? Starting your own, your own project, your own business, your own ideas. I mean, I have, I feel like I have lots of good ideas, and then after that, I stew in them too long, then they become less appealing, or I have a bit of a block. Like, okay, well, maybe that's not gonna fly, or maybe that's not good. It might be a normal thing that people have like a download of inspiration, or they do something, and then what?
You got to ignore that shit.
Yeah. How do you?
That's why you got to pounce. Like you can't back.
Darren's a pouncer. I'm more of I analyze it a little bit, sometimes a
We'd
little bit too much.
We'd still
Maybe
be talking about podcasting.
Wait, so you're saying ignore the inspiration or dive into the inspiration?
He says ignore that hesitancy, that doubt, that little bit of doubt that comes in if before you're ready to make that move or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really interesting question because again, it goes back to we have a natural disposition, all of us. So I think there's a superpower in that ability to create ideas. And, this is the type of person that I would just say, even if we just start diving into a little bit of the stuff I'm into around psychology and type in general.
Yeah.
You have certain types of people where the way they process information is internal. And, we have two types that do that. And I'm looking at my little brain type chart on the screen. And there are two types that do that internally. And one is the architect, right? And that architect is a very linear thinker. And the other is the oracle. And the oracle is also internal facing, but it's they live in this very abstract world. So some people are very good at and Elon Musk has become somewhat controversial now, which I love that it's even controversial. But you watch this guy think, and it's is he there right now? Is he somewhere in the universe inside of his mind, plucking ideas and sort of bringing them together? And that's really the way the oracle works. The way the architect works, the way I work is everything in my brain is a filing cabinet. I'm oh yeah, Graham said that thing. I'm going to put it right there. And then he likes this. Okay, cool. And then I kind of can fit it together and build blocks in a very stable way. Good builders. But ultimately, some people are just wired to be idea generating machines. One of the types is the alchemist. And the alchemist is the Einsteins, the Da Vinci's, people that are just are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. And other people are very good at executing. They're creative. Explorers are generally these types of people. Architects can be these types of people. There's a little bit of, we all contain, by the way, we all contain a little bit of all of this. It's a spectrum. So some people are a little bit more in the middle, obviously. And like I gave the caveat before, you're boxing yourself in order to put language to something that's elusive, but you don't want to get caught up in the box too much. It's a tool. And so the idea of execution, some people are just fantastic at executing. They're amazing. And so guys like you probably work really well together.
Actually, it's a pretty good compliment. It's a pretty good balance. I mean, I was reading, did my thing and it came up as The Alchemist. And then I read and I was wow, that actually, it doesn't seem like it's just the answers to the questions that are making up this. It feels like it really fits me. And then I was doing this, I'm working on this little book on recovery. It's a self-help thing, it's very subjective, but it's about alchemy and recovery and about intentional recovery, small recovery groups, that type of thing. I mean, this is as good as time as any to talk about it. And I had the meeting process, you'd have this small meeting and the process or the protocol of the meeting, I had the leader of the meeting, the alchemist, in there. So it is very, very synchronistic and it fits very well that the alchemist would it was like their template of running the meeting. Now you can say this and do that and you help people come up with their intentions, their healing intentions for the group. So I don't know. I think we're going to get Darren to do that afterwards, but I think it fits really well.
Do what?
Good.
Test?
The test, yeah.
Yeah. Brain type assessment. Yeah, it's free and people like it, and it's helped a lot of companies, a lot of individual artists, things like that. But then we have I made one that's, more way more in depth. That's like a sort of one pager, very quick quiz, we might call it, that gives you like the first part, what I call brain type. But as far as the full personality, the elements, that's something that I'm working on getting everywhere. It's like my approach to a new, there's been so many huge assessments out there, right? Like Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finder, emotional intelligence. And these are all great tools that a lot of companies in particular like to use because, look, like I did all of this not to make money. I did all of this. Well, first, when I left my job, I had to make money. But it took me years to get to a point where I could finally like fulfill on the pain that caused me to leave my job. The reason I left my job at Google was because I had no idea who the fuck I was. I was miserable. I was just trying to fit and climb and fit and climb.
Even though you had this amazing job,
point.
you know? You had the dream job in a way, right? I mean, at Google, you're working for Google, you know?
Yeah, and you think it's security, but it's like, wait a second, you could get fired at a moment's notice. You could get laid off. Like, I think our perception of security in society is completely flawed. And I think that the creator economy is a beautiful thing. I'm so happy that this is happening. I'm so happy that anybody can write a book. Anybody can start a podcast. Anybody can create a course. And a lot of people complain about it. Oh, this is shitty and everyone's putting garbage out there. I'm like, fine, whatever. At least people are creating and maybe they're making enough money to be independent.
And
let the market decide.
And it's the act of creating. I've been thinking about that recently, is that's instead of just watching or doing something or watching somebody else do something, or like whether it's TV or whatever, like even if you're just playing a game with somebody in person or reading or creating, like it just feels there's something more fulfilling, I think, to it.
Massively. How many people sit around and say, I could do that better and never do shit? So many people. And I was surrounded by these types of people growing up. Oh yeah, I had that business idea. I could have done it. I just got tired of hearing that stuff. And deep down, I was like, I got to create. I don't know in what capacity that means. And I had this sort of fear-based mindset that I needed to go down the traditional path before I jumped out on my own. I thought that would help me. And by the way, in hindsight, it did. Like, I am who I am. We are who we are because of every step along the way. But I think that was a bit of a lie that we tell ourselves. I got to go to college. I got to get this job. And ultimately, like, you can make it work. Things are so much easier today than they were 10 years ago when I started.
Yeah.
It took me almost 6 months to launch a website.
10 years ago? Yeah.
Excruciating.
Yeah.
Excruciating.
So was it pretty hard to actually pull the trigger and leave Google though, or?
I kind of like, it got to a point where it was like back against the wall. This is miserable. It also kind of worked out where my organization started falling apart, because Google is like a bunch of companies,
right.
And so it's like within my organization, things were just not going well. People were getting laid off. So it was just like, this isn't growing. And I looked at like going to other divisions. I looked at going to other startups. Nothing was doing it. I was like, this is just going to be a remix of the same thing again. And so, I was just like, this isn't working. And I had just met the girl who's now my wife. And I was like, do you want to go to Cuba? And that's what I did. I quit and we went to Cuba, and I just sat around thinking about what I would do with my life.
Wow.
And I haven't looked back.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. So when did you realize the biggest lie about success? Is that a more recent thing? Yeah.
Success is oh my God. Yeah. These are very Western ideas. And I think the balanced person learns to take in a lot of philosophy, classical ideas, Eastern ideas, to create a more worldly, well-rounded view that isn't based on some cultural construct that was fed to us. Super unhealthy. And we do that because it's fed to us, but we also do it because we don't want to be the black sheep. We're wired to fit in. We have to. If you're just living a completely unconventional life, even as us, we are all three sitting here very unconventional, non-conformist type people. But you don't want to go too far, because all of a sudden it's like, I don't know what the hell Jimmy's doing over there. Yeah. And then you don't have connection with others, and without connection socially with others, you're not going to be healthy. So there's a balance, right? And as I went to seek that balance and kind of like input different worldviews, I think I first did that by just traveling. I've traveled a lot. I love it. It's just like an innate thing for me. I don't even keep track, I just I've been to the same countries many times, and I just like expose, talk to people. And you just start to realize, like, reality should never be used without quote marks. Like, it is completely subjective, and we're each in our own little tunnel of what reality could be. And so then that started to like crack my perception of success. And, I talk about this a lot, but I think that it's a balance. Without that like aim, you're meandering and you're lost. So aims are good. A North Star is good. You need it, but it's secondary to the process and the craft.
Yeah.
It has to be secondary.
Because you can get to that success and you're not happy. It's not the way you thought it was. All the stuff you went through to get there, and you get there and you're like, oh.
Well, that's bad aim, though, I would argue. So it's like it's an important second, because I got to where I thought I wanted to be, and I wasn't any happier. You know what I mean? There was a time I wanted to be the boss of the company I work at, and I'm the boss, and I still got to go there. And that's, I don't hate my job. That's the difference. I mean, that's probably why Graham's a full-time podcaster and I'm not, because in a lot of ways, I have a ton of freedom in my job. I have a ton of autonomy. For now.
I don't know I don't think it's aim, though. I mean, the way you described it in your one episode there, Arman, it was more about, you get to where you want it to be, and it's just not, it's not what you thought it was. I don't think that's aim necessarily. I think that's
aiming at the wrong spot. To me, that's aiming at the wrong spot. That's why whenever I'm talking to anyone about manifestation and stuff like that, it always comes with a bunch of self-work and a bunch of hard-looking internal, because when we do it, we usually do it through books. I work with groups of small people, and we'll do it through reading books. And it always starts with the heavy-hitting, hard look at yourself books. And my argument is because otherwise you're going to fucking end up getting something you think you want, and you're going to be like, fuck. And it's just a bunch of wasted time. So that, to me, that's like taking the time to aim my fucking artillery so that when I finally pull the trigger, it hits, because I've manifested a few things that I didn't want that I'm a fucking guilty party in. And it's not that I didn't want it. It's just that maybe, in some cases I didn't want it. But in other cases, maybe it was just, I hadn't really thought through enough what I really wanted.
That's kind of what I wanted to ask Arman, is that I've been in business with people, and they're not happy, they're lost, and I try and find out, well, what do you want out of your life? Like, what do you want out of this business? What do you want to do? And they can't answer.
Most people have no idea, because they don't know who they are at all.
Yeah. So
And I totally agree with Darren. Well, I think it's what Darren said. It's like really hard fucking work up front that is like the mirror is right in your face. And you're forced to really recognize who you really are on the surface level, on the personality level, but even on a deeper spiritual level. Like, who are you really? What are you here for? Like, what's your true state? And I think a lot of people are afraid of that. I think a lot of people are afraid of I think one of the best guiding principles in life too is to, one time someone said to me, like, hey, Arman, like, what would you say and do right now if death was sitting on your shoulder? I was like, what? What do you mean? And they're like, yeah, like, you got a week to live. Like, what are you going to do? Who are you, really? And these guiding questions are ancient questions. I mean, Marcus Aurelius talks about this in Meditations. So it's just these guiding questions. I think questions are really powerful. And then that can guide you to a place where first you have to understand who you are. And we're actually all the same at the end of the day. Like most people arrive at a very similar destination if they go deep enough. The only difference is the way we outwardly express it. Like we all have we have a different gift. We have a different ability to manifest. We have a different ability to create. Our art is different. Our brains are different. So then we just show up in the world differently. But I think our true state is way, way more similar than we realize. I think it's all just, we're star stuff.
What's that big question you say is, what would you do if money wasn't, how do you word that?
Yeah, it's not my question. It's something Alan Watts once said that stayed with me forever. It's, what would you do if money were no object? This is another great question. It's like, yeah, maybe I'd be a video producer, a marine biologist, or a podcaster. And I think that a lot of people will delay on going the path that they would ultimately if money were not the driving factor, because of the same thing that we were talking about earlier. You know, I think it was before we started recording, about where you live. Why is it so hard to just move somewhere that you actually want to be? Because we create these blocks, these obstacles, these stories about why it's hard and why we can't and why we have these, responsibilities. But like, dude, you get one life. Like, that's why I think it's so important to meditate on death, to meditate on existence itself. That's why I tend to be very philosophical, because it helps me guide my life to live and ultimately die well, because I am deeply, deeply in tune with that fact that none of us escapes it. Not even the Emperor of Rome escaped death. So we might as well live in harmony with who we really are and enjoy this ride, and not get to destinations where we're like, oh shit, this was meaningless. I just wasted 10 years.
Yeah. I thought I wanted that, but I don't. Yeah. I love that. That's fantastic. So what advice do you have for people that they want to start up something, or they want to leave their job, or they want to get into a new business or become their own boss or whatever it is? Like, do you have any typical advice for them?
Wow. Well, I'm laughing because I'm not sure, because I used to believe that anybody could enter the creator economy and successfully be a solopreneur. And my opinion on that has shifted, because solopreneurship is one thing, but really starting a company and making that your life is one of the most challenging things in my life I've ever done. And it's 100% not for everybody. And so I think that, like, if somebody is asking how or should I, they shouldn't.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at today.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to want to, like, kind of run through a brick wall for it. Because you're going to have to, actually. Like, you're going to have to. What
were some of the biggest challenges for you in your own company and these startups that you had to?
Some of them were like, just external facing problems. Like, oh my God, we just woke up and lost like $200,000 because the product that we manufactured just was damaged and it's done. And what the fuck are we going to do?
Yeah.
It's stuck on a boat. We needed it. Amazon's going to shut us down, or, these external problems, or people oriented, not knowing how to hire, who to hire, when to fire. Only time and experience teaches you that stuff. It's wild. You hire your friends when you first start, the people that are loyal to you, and it's not always the best move. You learn to get a little bit more cutthroat. You learn that emotions are good and healthy, and empathy is good and healthy, and building culture is good, but not at the expense of profit. Because if you don't have profit, you don't have a business, then nobody has a job. Another thing I learned the hard way. Yeah. I was like, oh, we'll be a purpose-driven company. Like, sure, if the government's funding you, or you're a nonprofit, and you just, even a nonprofit has to be profitable. They can't just keep losing money forever.
Yeah.
So you learn basic business fundamentals. And the most successful nonprofits run their businesses like a for-profit, but ideally they put purpose and people first. And you just learn a lot of things the hard way. But the other aspect of it is like internal facing. It's just constant questions of like, why am I doing this? Should I be doing this? Do I need to pivot? Is this still for me? Is the reason that I started this still true? And those things continuously come up throughout the journey. So it's like, that's why the why has to be so strong and so aligned with that aim so that you can run through anything. You also have to learn when to not run through the brick wall and like just sit down and, think and make sure you're on the right path still.
Yeah, and if it's going to be worth it, I guess. I mean, it's got to be worth the effort in the long run. I mean, that's what most people aren't going to want to work. Most people probably wouldn't want to live my life right now, but they probably want to live my life in 5 years. They probably want to live Graham's life now, but they probably didn't want to live Graham's life for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
When it was work for 8 hours, then sit in traffic for an hour, then come home, fucking scarf down dinner so that you can edit podcasts or write show notes or read a book or narrate for fucking hundreds of hours or all that stuff. So, I mean, I kind of do a cross thing where I'm not, because here, I'll be frank, I don't fucking love doing audiobooks. It kind of sucks. That's honestly the best part, because if it didn't suck, everybody would be doing it like everybody kind of has a podcast. So it's a lot harder market, the fucking podcast market, because there's this much smaller barrier to entry. But making audiobooks fucking sucks. It doesn't suck for Graham's part, is probably much better because he's actually reading all the material, but it's still not great. Because
it's some of it's a slog because we're picking really difficult ancient tomes that are like 800 pages of like really hard reading. So
it's kind of, to me, but then we wouldn't be able to market those things if it weren't for the thing that we love. So it's kind of like a hybrid of the two, which is kind of like, I'm a big fan of MJ DeMarco. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff. He does Unscripted. He has a very interesting approach to it. I actually, because I interact with him a little bit, and I was actually surprised to find that he wasn't into, I know he had used some Napoleon Hill quotes in one of his books. And he's like, I like some of his quotes, but I just couldn't get into it, because he comes from a very different mindset where he's like, you might not love this, but the danger of love what you do is that you'll fall into, like you say, a solopreneurship, which now it's great. You know what? I fucking love fucking dogs, so I'm gonna start up a fucking dog babysitting fucking thing. It's gonna be awesome, all these different dogs all the time. And then like 3 years later, you fucking hate dogs and you can't take any time off because your margins are too small and you haven't really looked at that. And if you hire someone to watch the dogs, now there's not enough there's no market there anymore. So it's kind of like,
nailed it.
There's this kind of two-pronged approach where there's a real danger of turning what you love into a fucking death sentence if you don't follow through with it. And I mean, I don't love doing audiobooks, but I know I only have to do 50 or 100. And then, I can sort of, be thankful that I did that. I'll use those terms. We'll be thankful that we took those thousands of hours to make those audiobooks, probably for the rest of our lives. Every month, Yeah. Every month when the royalty check comes in, I'll be like, oh, fuck, that was worth it. Because now you haven't read an audiobook and fucking, ideally this is all stable and it works years and years into the future. And, you're getting these royalties forever, like a lot of authors do. It's the same sort of ideal as that. But, authors probably enjoy the process a little bit more because most authors love writing. Do you love writing? I didn't love it. I honestly didn't love it. I know
a lot of authors that hate writing.
I fucking hated it. So I enjoyed doing the first part. It was fun. Slap it all together, boop, 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 and then getting into the grind of back and forth on the edit and the sourcing and by the end, I just wanted the thing to be done.
You're outsourcing the sourcing?
I outsourced the sourcing.
Darren,
Thanks,
I feel like
baby.
this would be up your alley. Have you heard of the War of Art by Stephen Pressfield?
No.
Okay,
I'll have to check it out.
That's right up your alley. So it's a writer. He's a famous author, and he mostly had written fiction up until that point. Like he wrote, he's done a lot of like the Greek Persian stories, and then he did Legend of Bagger Vance, a lot of movie, like stuff that has been turned into movies, and then he wrote this book that's become like a cult classic in the self-development space called it's not the War of Art, but the Art of War. And it's ultimately about creativity. And he's like, I'm a writer. I hate it, but I force myself to. I think the almost close paraphrase exact words are like, every morning at 7 a.m., I sit my ass down in my chair and I stare at my notepad or my laptop or whatever. And that repetitive process. And he goes through all the distractions, and he turns the pain that we feel in our lives when we need to do something into this entity called resistance. And he's like, the more fear you feel towards something, that means the more resistance there is toward it. That means the more necessary it is that you produce that and put it out into the world. So he says that like some of the great artists, some of the great directors, some of the great performers experienced like insane levels of resistance that they had to overcome. Like more fear equals more necessary to do, essentially. And but he turns it into this like devilish entity, like where it's almost like you have to overcome the devil in order to get your creativity out into the world.
That's right, but it's a devil of your own making.
Yeah, it really is.
I love that. I mean, that's kind of what I was trying to get at earlier, is there's that, you know, you have that sort of flood of creativity or that download of ideas, and you put it down, but then it's what you do from there. Like, can you get through the resistance of actually pushing it out to other people or the public or whatever?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I was talking to somebody today. He's about to celebrate his 50th soon. And he was like, crazy rock climber, went really deep into the mastery of that throughout his life. And then he kind of suddenly was like, I need to shift. I want to try something else, a different hobby, a different thing to master. And at, 48 years old, he's like, I'm going to learn to play the guitar. But the thing that was most fearful for him, that he didn't give a shit about impressing anybody with, he knew that by like recording a video and putting it out there, that was the thing that was going to get him to accelerate on the path of learning and like would make him feel good. It was like for him. So he's like, I took the video and I put it on Facebook or whatever, one of those platforms. And it overcame something, and it kept him going down the path of mastery. But that was him sort of exemplifying this whole fear and resistance thing that I think we all feel. I feel it all the time. I've felt it when I had to get up to speak before. I've felt it if I need to write something. I mean, it comes up often, actually.
Mark Manson equates it to like the feeling brain, or the logical brain and the feeling brain, the thinking brain and the feeling brain. And your feeling brain wants to go all do that stuff, and your logical brain is telling it all the reasons why that's a fucking terrible idea. But ultimately, or vice versa, depending on the situation. But ultimately, I mean, the way he describes it, the feeling brain always wins out. And then the role of the logical brain is more to just explain to yourself why that's okay, or why it was the logical choice in a lot of ways. But it's that, I guess, like, I don't know if I agree with that 100%, but I like the two brain analogy, because I do feel like in a lot of ways I bribe myself. It'll be like, well, I just want to listen to my audiobook right now. I don't want to fucking listen to Graham. But I'll just be like, all right, well, you can just fucking go sit down and edit for an hour and a half, and then we'll go smoke a joint and we'll listen to 45 minutes audiobook, and then we'll go do a few more hours, or, little bribes like that all the time. Which he talks about in his book, in one of his books, about how the one brain can sort of bribe the other brain, and you can use that to get over moving, that resistance.
Yeah. Wasn't that one of the triggers for you, him, and the success thing?
Mark Manson's?
Yeah.
Yes. I love Mark Manson. I'll never forget. Like, yeah, you heard it, but that story, like, of what happened to him after the subtle art of not giving a fuck changed my life. It was just another example, Graham, like another example of somebody seeking a certain level of success or glory, and then it being like, oh my God, this is it. So what you're referring to is he obviously had a dream of taking his blog and turning it into a book. And I've been following him for a long time. He's like an OG internet guy, blogger, had this great blog, a lot of good self-help stuff. And I think Mark
Picking
is
up
absolutely
women.
brilliant.
That's where you got to start.
Yeah, that's where he really started.
I mean, it sounds seedy, but I mean, if you actually read his book on how to attract women, it's mostly a self-help book. One of the better self-help books. It's just male-orientated.
I mean, that's the secret of pickup, right? It's like
so many people, just being yourself and being good at it.
It's just being whole.
Yeah. It's interesting. And then so many ladies that just loved his not give a fuck book. If they knew his first book would just be like, motherfucker.
Right. Well, the difference is this other book was like traditionally published, pushed way out there. And it became like it had meme energy to it, right? The title's amazing. Like it sometimes that happens. It happens once every 5 to 10 years. And so then he goes and gets the level of success that he never dreamed possible. And then, he talked about with different podcast, friend of mine, Lewis House, School of Greatness. He was on that podcast talking about it and saying, I literally was so depressed that I didn't get up from my sofa all summer and just sat there and played Zelda. And I had everything I ever wanted. So I was like, okay, I cannot be focused on these outcomes. I can be focused on having an aim and a direction, but if I'm focused on outcomes and goals, so then what do? I need to release my attachment to any outcome whatsoever. That's kind of essentially where I landed so far.
Yeah, I like that. And feeling that, like, I like to try and feel the contentment. Like my thing about contentment is raising the base level of contentment. If my base level of contentment can keep getting raised and raised, there's less of these like ups and downs emotionally. And I just feel like it's living just a little bit more of your authentic life in the moment. I mean, that's really on cliche in a way, but that's the way I feel it is. And where was I going with that? Getting there, like I like to try and envision the feeling I'm going to have. That's the specific visualization. And the generic one is just around, a generic idea, like let's say reading books from home or whatever it might be. And it's that's the way I'm trying to manifest things lately is the feeling of the accomplishment and a general thing that I'm trying to work towards. If that makes sense.
I used to do a lot of that stuff, and you guys are kind of inspiring me to kind of go back to some of those ideas a little bit, some of those Napoleon Hillish sorts of ideas. Because I started there, like, in a lot of ways, like that book was transformational for me.
Wow. You mentioned drifting a lot. Yeah. As well.
Yeah. For sure.
So Outwitting the Devil is newer.
Yeah. Have you read Outwitting the Devil at all?
That book is unbelievable.
Wow.
It could be one of the most important books ever released.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think I was in a place in my life where the door was open, like to my psyche. I'll never forget. Like I couldn't put it down, and I read it extremely slowly. That's what I do with very important books. And dude, I would sit there and read one sentence and my whole body would like shake.
Wow. Holy shit.
Like it was a crazy experience, that book. It was like a psychedelic experience, actually. Yeah.
I'm getting the shivers. I'm getting the shivers right now just listening to you.
Oh, yeah, I listen to that book.
Wild.
I listen to it I listen to the audiobook every couple of months. I mean, it's quick. You just do it a day. Rip through it.
So
I mean, I have a whole regiment
audio
that I do every spring of books just to make sure I'm on course. You can get caught up in your own shit or, lose sight or whatever. I take the spring off to take a break. I mean, that's why, I'd like to get to your book, but I'm back. I'm done spring and I'm into like summer, fall, winter is all fiction. The new Abercrombie will be out in like 6 weeks, so I'm going to redo a bunch of that stuff to prepare for it, so I make sure I'm ready. But I'm going to add that to the list. I'll throw it in there somewhere. It's probably short, right? That's the thing, is good fiction is like super long, but good self-help is super short.
That's true. That's true.
So let's talk about flow and staying in the moment then. I mean, that's a big part of your thing as well. And I think that's one of the most important things, is being attuned to what's happening right now and not worrying about the past and the future. And, there's time for planning and there's time for worrying about stuff, or not worrying about it, but thinking about it. I don't think worrying is good at all, no matter what. But how important is that to you? And that also the health and wellness part of it, and keeping that going.
Flow is one of those things when I stumbled upon the idea, which the term was coined by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, a Hungarian professor, who's in America now. And something about the depth of his approach to the topic, I could very clearly see that his outcome was exactly what my outcome had been in life, except he took it 10 times further. I think he's 90 years old now. And he dedicated his life to positive psychology, pioneer of positive psychology, along with Martin Seligman. And I could see that the outcome was one that combined like all these classical sage wisdom and philosophy and spirituality ideas with modern psychology in a very new and refreshing way. Because all they really had to stand on was the work of Freud and Jung and a few others, of course, but like they really were pioneers, him and Seligman, in this positive psychology space that has created most of the psychology books we see today. Like they really are the ones that put that out there. And at the end of the day, I realized that flow, he calls it optimal experience. So it's like you're optimizing for optimal experience in life. And so what is optimal experience? It's one where you feel fucking amazing at the end of the day. Like to put it simply, it's like he's talking about doing activities that put you into a state where time dilates and warps and you're not sure if it's speeding up or slowing down. And so why not want to be in a state of mind where you feel ecstatic and amazing and you're producing and you're creative, right? So that's the other aspect to it, is generally people are doing or creating something. They might be kite surfing or they might be writing a book, but at the end of the day, there's some challenge. There's something happening that really puts them into a state where they feel connected and fulfilled and whole. And I'm like, wow, this is really deep shit. And actually, I think he's using psychology as a sort of platform and gateway to get people to understand what life is ultimately about. And don't get me wrong, like everyone has different things that speak to them and their approach. And so for me, I was like, okay, this really speaks to me. I'd love to, I think what's important is to acknowledge the people that come before you, and everybody stands on the shoulders of giants. So it's like, all right, I want to build upon this. I want to go further with this. I want to create an assessment for this, my elements assessment. I want to proliferate these ideas further because I've learned entrepreneurship. I've learned marketing. Not enough people know about these ideas. And so that's where it all started for me. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like life has become a dance of going into flow and then falling down and being like, oh man, and you have the rough days and you just fall apart, and then something shows up, a challenging event shows up, you get anxious, you get sad, you feel like shit, you don't want to get up the next day, and then it's like, nope, I'm going to calibrate myself again for that optimal experience. And so there is no being in flow forever, because if we were in flow forever, it wouldn't be pleasurable. It'd
That's
be
a good
meaningless.
point. Yeah, exactly.
So
what can you break down positive psychology a little bit for people?
Well, I mean, most of psychology was based around people that had problems. It was like there's this medical condition, this psychological condition, there's schizophrenia, there's bipolar, there's all of these different conditions that were a problem. There's just generally just depression and anxiety. And so psychology was mostly, in a lot of ways, either psychoanalysis, which is the work of Freud and Jung, and they had their little splitting off, but originally kind of the fathers of that. Or then you have the world of like psychiatry, where it's like, let's work on this person with medicine and heal them, or therapy and heal them. And then kind of as the decades went on, Seligman and Csikszentmihalyi came along and were like, well, wait a second, like, what if we actually were helping people create more well-being, like healthy people? And even the word healthy is like, who's healthy, who's not? This is all subjective. Most people have something. Let's focus on where we want to take people, not just fixing the problem. And so the work became all around this idea of growth, development, helping people understand how to measure well-being, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. So for anybody who's curious about this stuff, Martin Seligman has a great course that you can take on Coursera, actually. University level course. It's him teaching at the university, video format, and you can learn all this directly from him, and it's amazing. It's amazing work.
Thank you. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant explanation. Oh, I mean, I love the flow thing because I mean, it's just being intensely in the moment. My dad used to tell me, and it was I think it was from advice from a business perspective, like going into meeting, like he used to tell me, just be in the moment. And he passed away in 2003. And when I was in business, working my way up the corporate ladder, or trying to, like I would remember his words, and I think he was telling me to be present in business situations. But I'm sure it was an overall life thing too. But thinking back now, that he was really pushing the staying in the moment, you know, when I was so much younger, you know, in my 20s and 30s, and it really is so important to be actively listening and to being, you know, to be in the moment. Being in this podcast is practice for that.
I was just going to say that.
Like, I can't pay attention to chats or do anything. I'm really just trying to just be present and hold space in what's happening. But
So
in a sports,
I get into flow.
Yeah.
Like right now,
Yeah.
I am like so fucking tuned in, you know, and then whether I'm on this side or the other side.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I started the podcast. It's my expression of accessing flow and creating something of value, you know?
Yeah.
It's total presence. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, it's so easy to see it in the sports analogy, because when you're used to practicing a sport for years and years and years, and stuff happens automatically when you're completely in the moment and you don't even know how you did it. That's a little easier to acknowledge, but it's
Yes.
just during the day to day, it's a little harder, you know. Darren, do you want to comment on anything about this, or where do you want to go from here? Yeah.
I don't know.
You got any business questions or
Business questions?
entrepreneurship or?
Well, what about the book? Which publishing route did you decide was better?
Yeah, man. So it was tough, because the more you go down the rabbit hole, the more you learn. And it's like, I had this story that I wanted to go traditional. And it was mostly for, you know, like for example, subtle art of not giving a fuck would not have reached a level that it did, arguably, if it were not through like a traditional publisher. But there is a counter argument to that. Like David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, he published with my friends at Scribe. And I talked to Javon at Scribe, and he's like, what? That basically proves that whole theory wrong. Like, this guy sold millions of books, and most of it audio, by the way, a lot of audio books. Like, people love listening to that guy. It's amazing. He's so motivational. And so I was like, okay, so what are my goals really? Where I landed was I spoke to some of the publishers, and it was terrible. This book would take years to not only develop and write and edit. And look, like my argument for wanting traditional was, I want to create the best book possible. So one aspect is the reach, and the other aspect is you get a team of people that help you create the best book possible. Now, I fundamentally believe that's true, but a lot of people say, no. What you do is you lose your book to them because they take over, they change the title, they change the cover, they change this, they change the writing, everything. And that's true. They could do that. But where I landed was I talked to some publishers that were dinosaurs, and I think most of them are going to have to evolve or they're going to die. But I met one publisher called Ben Bella, and they were so refreshing. Their whole thing is very entrepreneurial approach and partnership based. And so they gave me a very different vibe, a very different approach where they're like, we're going to partner on this book. We're going to make decisions together. We'll even give you contractual ability to choose the cover, to, the title, like all this stuff. It's just like, this feels right. It gives me the distribution I want. It gives me the creative freedom I want. It gives me the partners I want to create the best book possible. So that's the route I ended up going. It's a traditional publisher, but it's a unique one. It's a very different one, and I'm really happy with it so far. And I'm still early stage, started writing. It feels good. I mostly think I'm going to have to get on airplanes to write this thing.
Yeah.
That's the only time I really get in the zone to write. But yeah.
That's
but there
a
are
great
a lot
point.
of good options out
you're
there.
Stuck there,
again,
sitting there. You got it. You're like, okay, this is my writing time. I got 10 hours on this flight. I'm just going to hammer it out.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about what it's going to be about, or what it's?
Sure. So the title is Unleashed, and we'll see if it's still the title when it comes out. But so you guys took my brain type assessment that's free. Anybody can take that. But I created another assessment that's extremely in depth where people get like a 25 to 30 page report on their personality. And it's called the Elements Assessment. And when people buy the Unleashed book, they'll get a code to the Elements Assessment.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool because we typically sell the Elements Assessment for like $50, but the book will only be like, $25. So they get the book, they get the assessment. And some assessment books that were written in the past were just like, here's why I'm writing the book. When you take any type of assessment, for me at least, the question that is often left is like, what now? I'm just like, cool, what now? And so the book is meant to answer that question of what now. It's just, here's everything that comes after you take a good hard look in the mirror, as Darren was saying earlier, and understand who you are. And now here is a personalized path that you could take where people like you have taken toward evolving and expanding and creating across having the best, creating good relationships, creating the best sense of health, creating a great career for yourself. So it's a personalized approach to this whole self-help genre.
I love that. I love that. It's kind of what we were talking about in the beginning is how do you answer? And I was trying to say about the business people, they don't know what they want. They don't know what they would do without, if money wasn't an object, or they don't know even what they want to do with their current business opportunities or their current business. Or, I mean, it's such a tough thing. We're stuck in this sort of wishy-washy spot where people are just working the day jobs and they don't know how to get out. So I think that's a great idea. It's fantastic.
Look, it's taken me almost a decade to get to the point where I wanted to write the book 9-10 years ago. Literally, this same book.
Wow.
It has just taken me a long time to build the understanding, build the product, build the individual level of like speaking to people. I've spoken to so many people, and like trying to deeply understand their path, deeply understand their psyche, and be like, okay, we're at a place now where like we aren't full of shit and we can talk about this, and I can put something out there that actually helps people. But like ultimately it all started with, I'm miserable. I'm in a job that doesn't express who I am. I could go to another company and that'd be great too. And then I went and became an entrepreneur, and I'm like, this is also really hard. Who am I? What do I do best? Where should I be focused on my time? What kind of business should I be building? So it's meant to answer these questions alongside, how do I work best with other people? Who should I be aligned with, relationships wise, work wise, career wise, all of that. So it totally like is from the very beginning. It's all tied together.
That's fantastic. So you can actually do that assessment now, though, because I'm all for. I think this is great. These assessments, just to even get you thinking about, yourself in a different way, and maybe things that you didn't realize.
Yeah, you totally can. It's called the Elements Assessment. ProjectEvo.org has it. But I mean, I'm obviously biased. Put a ton of work into it. I think it's an
How
awesome
many
assessment.
types are there on yours? I mean, the thing I like about Briggs Myers is knowing all the other types is arguably more helpful.
Yeah.
Or
'cause
at
then you
least
can
as helpful
understand
as knowing
people.
my own, because once I can understand the people I'm working with, then, everything. And I don't really understand them all the time. I'm not saying that, but it just helps. You can start
That's
to
why a
notice
lot of
people
companies
in,
like this stuff.
in,
you know, 'cause they
in
want-
that's what I mean. Mostly in a professional environment, you just learn how to get the best out of different people.
Yeah, right seat, right person. And that's why companies buy this a lot. They really love assessments and our assessment for that reason. We have 8 types, and then we also have, the way I describe it is there are 8 compasses and there's 23 crafts. So when you take the assessment, you'll be given what is called your compass, and then you'll be given your top 3 crafts. And your crafts are basically like chief, cultivator, influencer. There's just different things that we're all good at. So it helps you identify like that behavior side of things a little more. And like, where should you spend your time now that you know who you are? So you get both sides of the equation.
Awesome.
So can I go on your website and read up about all that? Can I go read up about all the types and the breakdowns from there? Or is that going to be in the
You
book?
actually can't. You can on one degree. You can with like a limited version of it, but it's something we've been talking about where it's like this information makes sense to just have the types public
As a
and
book,
anybody
yeah.
can read any type. Yeah. And so that's funny. We've been talking about that.
Yeah, that'd be a valuable resource. I'd like to, if you do that as a book, let me know. I'll buy a copy.
Oh, I'm
I
going to
mean-
do the whole. I'm going to do the elemental assessment. I think the elements assessment. I want to do that.
I decided you're already living the dream. I went with self-publishing in the end just because everything was going to take too long.
He went through the whole thing, and I mean, he had people trying to get him to publish it, and he's like, "Oh, it's going to take a year."
Well, because my book was already done, and I wasn't planning on I was always planning on self-publishing, and I just sent it to my buddy who runs a publishing company or runs part of a publishing company to get his opinion on the final draft before I did a few things, and he was like, "No, we got to publish this thing," and so he had me talking to some literary agents, and then I decided to not go with them because it was like best case scenario was next year pretty much. And that was like
1 year minimum.
best case, And then when I started complaining about that, they said, well, maybe 6 months, but you could tell it just wasn't going to happen.
No.
And then
they're slow.
Yeah. And then the
Slow.
other one is actually when I was reaching out for sourcing to the University of Regina to use a paper from one of their professors. And Buddy asked for a copy of it. And then the University of Regina Press was going to offer to publish it, which was actually more tempting because they do publish a lot of Indigenous stuff and they've got a commitment to publish things in Indigenous languages and stuff like that. But I mean, we own a publishing company. So it's just like, what the fuck that doesn't make any sense to not try and build these things in-house one way or another. I mean, whether or not we can market it as well as them, or maybe there's a typo or two.
But they don't do any of that anymore.
I had to make the cover all by I made the cover all by myself.
Nothing.
They don't.
Well,
do
that's
that.
not true. My girlfriend did the art for me, and then I did the layout myself.
Sorry, no, I mean the marketing. Like the publishers, they don't really do much for you anymore. They don't, back in the day it was like they'd make you an author, and an author was like a career. We'll get you on a speaking tour, we'll get you on Good Morning America, we'll do all this stuff for you. They want books from authors that can sell their own books.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of reasons left to go that path. Because they're just scouring through Instagram looking for people that have like 1 or 3+ million followers and hitting them up and going, do you want to do a book? Because we know you can sell a book. Well, they don't know that for sure, right? But that's what they're looking for. They don't do a whole lot anymore. They'll tell you they will, but I have so many friends that have been burned by the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took it on myself. I mean, Graham doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to put him to work pretty soon here. because I haven't found a little small window on the like small shop wholesale. So, I mean, if I could sell 20 books to 100 shops in Calgary, then look at us go.
Oh, now I'm driving around
You're the publicist.
selling books, selling hard copy books.
Well, we'll use the postal service. It's definitely not best use of your time to be driving.
Yeah.
Maybe sending out some emails. Well, where can our listeners track you down if they want to get some more Arman Assadi?
Yeah, they can head to my website, armanassadi.com. Everything's there. Podcast, updates, whatever you need. It's all there.
Is there anything else
Social
you want
media.
to? Anything else you want to get into before we wrap it up?
Parting
No,
words?
this is super. What's that?
Do you have any parting words?
My parting words are, I just really like your guys' approach, what you're doing. And, there's a lot of listeners of this show, whether they're new or they've been with you guys for 7-8 years, whatever it is, it's like, I hope they appreciate the fact that you guys keep it extremely real and you're both individually extremely different and authentic. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And I think that's what gains audience. I think that's what, and it's also an example of like, hey, two people who are just living very different lives, but then they come together to do these activities, to build together, to share together. And it's like, I think that's what success looks like these days. It's not this, when I've achieved X, then I'll feel a certain way. So just props to you guys. And thanks for having me on.
Thanks, buddy. That's what attracted me to you too. I really appreciate it. Yeah. I just felt like you were just striving to just live your authentic self and be happy and help people. And I mean, I love it. I love it.
The saddest thing is to wake up one day and be like, wow, I just lived a lie and I've been wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And so my goal has been take the mask off as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And that takes, you could get hurt.
Yeah.
But fuck it.
Yeah. I love it.
Live.
Yeah, shit happens. You might get banged up a little bit here and there. Well, yeah, it's been a fantastic chat. I mean, you should check out our Contact at the Cabin page, contactatthecabin.com. We have an event coming up in February. Take a peek at that. If that's something that maybe you think is cool and you'd like to be a part of, shoot me an email and we can figure something out.
There'll be some Outwitting the Devil stuff there, and it's called Magic
Ooh.
on the Mountain. There'll be
We got a Wim Hof instructor coming to teach us all the
I love those
the
guys.
breakdown
Yeah.
like that. We're going to do the ice bath training. We've got a magic guy coming to teach us some
some hermetic rituals and stuff, and plus the
Plus, Owen Hunt, who does his whole thing, is reality transurfing, Napoleon Hill sort of thing, all that. It's
Wow.
going to be a fun time. It's going to be
Okay, I'll definitely check that out.
It's gonna
And
be
guys,
fun.
I'm here to help you however I can. Let's definitely keep hanging out, talking.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, I don't want you to buy a ticket. If it's something you're into, then maybe we can figure out a way to get you on the docket and we can all be hanging out in 6 months.
Cool.
Thanks, buddy.
Let's
Keep
talk.
us in the loop when your book comes out too. Definitely plug that.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Awesome, buddy.
All
yeah,
right,
and
guys.
email
Thanks for
Graham the
having
name
me.
of that other book because I want to check that out.
I got it on the
Oh,
show
you got it
notes,
in the show
yeah.
notes? Okay.
Which one? I said too many.
Yeah,
you
you
get
did.
it?
Yeah.
The one that you were surprised I hadn't read already.
Oh yeah, the Art of War. War of Art.
Yeah, War of Art.
I always get it backward. Yeah.
War of Art.
That one. You have to read that. I'll send it to you. Let me send it to you.
Okay.
I have so many copies.
All
Yeah,
right.
right on, buddy.
I give books out like crazy. That's my
Oh,
favorite
okay. Which books, dude?
So-
I have like I collect
thing. Like, let me see your library.
I collect Dune books, so I like to give out the first Dune to people.
Oh yeah.
And I also go to the used bookstore. I'm in there once every 2 weeks or so collecting because I'm a huge audiobook guy. But I want all the hard copies of the audiobooks I like.
I'm
So
the
I'm
same way.
slowly collecting hundreds of books in my library just from that. So I'll have all these books I haven't really read, but I've listened to the audiobooks enough time that I've practically got them memorized.
And you give out the Napoleon Hill books, right?
Well, yeah,
You-
Napoleon. It's hard to find a secondhand copy of Outwitting the Devil because even the guy that works there, like I've only seen that once. And the reason is because when you have that book, you don't give it up. Like
Ooh.
I don't plan on giving. I'll lend it out. I
Yeah.
want that shit back. Now I'll give it out. I'll just order another copy.
Right.
But it's like but my there's always a bunch of copies of Think and Grow Rich in there, because I'm telling you right now, what happens is people get like 3 chapters into Think and Grow Rich and they're like, oh no, I see where this is going. And they're done with it. Oh, I've heard that from people. No, I've read this before. And I'm like, listen, just read it front to back and tell me. Cause I mean, you just sit there telling me, oh, you're a lucky guy. And I'm like, no. Just read the fucking book. Just read the book. and because I'm not a lucky guy, I just read this book and I took it pretty serious, and I still maintain that it's probably, I mean, if I would have had Outwitting the Devil at that time, it would have been a different story, but I didn't get into Outwitting the Devil until more recently. But I read Think and Grow Rich a long time ago, and that was probably, I still buy it because you can go get the used copies. I've probably got 6 copies of it on my bookshelf right now. And then whenever someone comes by, I'll give them a copy. Or
I'm the same way.
If I have a kid at work, sometimes you just see a kid and you can tell he's just not drifting. And I'll like to fucking take this home, fucking read it. And we'll see what happens with it. But I mean, that's where once you're in that sort, I don't know if it's the flow state or not. I'm not a flow guy. But once you're sort of in that entrepreneur sort of mindset, you can sort of notice the people that might have a knack for it, and it's nice to try and nudge them in the right direction, because I didn't figure that shit out until I was fucking over 30 years old. And if someone would have handed me the right books when I was 20 years old or 15 years old, 15 might be a bit too young, but 20, and with the right guidance, or the books from the right people who you respect enough to take them seriously. I mean, people laugh when I say my kids are never going to have a real job. But I'm fucking telling you, my kids are growing up with this around them. They're immersed in it. I've got them making, you want to have a dog walking business? Okay, well, you better, I've got my 9-year-old building website so that she can be the town walk dog. But they're in that mindset that they're already, they don't talk about who they're going to work for or what they talk about what businesses they're going to have.
YouTube. Yeah.
Well, I know for them right now, it's like they're going to ride horses. And they're going to get good enough at it so that we can, on our property outside of the town, they can start teaching kids how to ride horses. And that's just going to be their life.
Wow.
They're going to live on the farm, eventually build a house on the farm, and just run the horse business out of the farm. We're looking for a farm right now to get out of the town and find a thing. And this is their plan. And they've stuck with it for a little while. Rad. And I'm like, and I know better not to say, that's because, dude, you hear that all the time, how things are a pipe dream or you can't do that. I mean, I had so many people, and not my mom, but just so many teachers or everything else in my life that told me that you can't do that, all these different crazy ideas, right? And it's like, fucking, if I would have listened to them, I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't have written a book. I wouldn't be doing tours all over fucking North America and having a blast doing it. And, and it's all just because we just said, fuck it, we're doing it.
And you talked about the importance of where you live. I mean, you've gone back and forth on that too, where live in the States, live out east a little bit more, but now Alberta seems like the place to maybe get a farm. I mean, the freest place right now anyways. I mean, that could change, but
it's a start.
Yeah.
The States
every generation is so that comes next is so lucky because they just get to build on top of like what we learned or what the previous generation learned. It's
ideally,
amazing.
I feel like we've lost sight of that though in a lot of ways. Like most people, and I might be presumptuous, but I feel like most people aren't doing that now. They're going home and watching TV and just so their fucking kids can take their place. And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, but so their kids can fucking take their place in the machine. And I don't want my kids to take my place in the machine unless it's my own cool machine that Graham and I made, and maybe they want to take over that somehow. I don't know how that would work, but maybe. But ideally, I'd rather they just wanted to build their own machine because that's going to be way more fulfilling.
Right. And I think that's the way the direction the world is moving for sure. I mean, especially with technology and everything happening. I mean, ideally, not as much labor needed, more time for creative thinking, more time for building and doing that thing that you would do if money were no object. I mean, that's amazing to have that opportunity. So yeah. I don't know. A lot of people are very like fearful of where things are going in the future. And don't get me wrong, I see some shit and I'm just like, this is terrifying. What's happening, especially in America. But I don't know. I mean, I think optimism is a choice. It's harder because you don't have anything to base it on. you're forward thinking and and it's a form of creativity.
Yeah.
So,
And
it's a lot easier to
manifestation.
go,
You're creating your own
I
life. You're creating your own life instead of watching some
It's
other
a-
life that someone else created to entertain you on the television so that you would not
Yep.
create your own life.
Yep.
Because
It's a
Amazon
form
needs
of
fucking
manifesting.
delivery drivers. Was it Mark Steves that used to deliver for Amazon and now he's living the dream?
Yeah. Anyways, thanks, buddy. This has been fantastic. It's great to meet you, and it's been a great chat.
It's been awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate
buddy.
it.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Peace.
Yeah.
See you, boys. Later.
Oh, and that was a chat with, oh, look, we could just leave that on. And that was a chat with Arman Assadi. What'd you think, buddy?
Ooh, that was great. Fantastic. Very inspiring.
You do a lot of woof lately. Eh?
Well,
That's
I
a new
mean,
thing.
you know, like I didn't know there's going to be all those synchronicities that outwitting the devil. I mean, I started getting the shivers when he was talking about how he got the shivers when he was reading the
Were we
book, and
close
you
to
read
crying?
the book, and I am right now. I got
We're going to get him. We're getting closer to making Graham cry on air.
Just start playing some drums, and I'm going to be a sobbing mess.
You'll be a sobbing mess?
Playing
One
some
of these
drums,
shows you
yeah.
just break down.
I saw a couple of comments in the chats, and it reminded me of listening to
Oh, you can't pay
Arman's
attention
show.
to the YouTube chats. It's just a shit show.
No, I know, but they're talking about
Trolls.
They're talking about drugs and all that kind of stuff. And
Were they trolls or were they a good group tonight?
I don't know.
Well, didn't you say you were reading some?
I just saw one comment, and
Oh.
it just reminded me of one of his past shows about this guy that he had on, talking about how medicine basically is like clipping like your car has a warning light come on, and you just cut the wire instead of figuring out what's wrong with it. You know, that's like modern medicine right now, and it was a great analogy.
I would argue maybe if you shut off the wire, maybe you can fix the car.
No, you clip the wire.
And then the car's better.
The warning light goes off.
That's perfect.
Oh my God. You're such a contrarian with me sometimes. This will piss me off. Okay, we got another show to do. Let's wrap this up.
Big thanks to Arman for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Head over to grindamerica.ca/support if you're getting a little value from the show. It is not a free show. It's a value for value show, which means if you do like the show, if it's adding some value to your day, to your life, to your commute, your work, your workout, wherever you're listening to the show, wherever Graham's making you laugh. What's that worth to you? $1 a month, $2 a month, $10 a month, $100 a month? grindamerica.ca/support. You decide. Or you could do a one-time donation. All the different options there. If you don't like PayPal, you can do Stripe. You could send cash in a book. We just got $500 in a book. That's like the most cash we ever got.
Yeah, fantastic.
Most cash we ever got. So that's grindamerica.ca/support. If you can, when you can. We can't do it without you. Of course, you can head over to grindamericaoutlaw.ca if you want to get some more podcasts from us. We do have a whole other show over there that comes out weekly, 2 hours long usually, or a couple 1-hour shows, depending on how that breaks down. But it's Plus members, grindamericaoutlaw.ca. If you're a Plus member, you get 2 hours a week instead of 1 hour. We have rockfin.com/grindamerica for our video content. We are contemplating putting an end to the live streams. We've been really strongly discussing maybe not streaming anymore. Let us know what you think about that. Graham@grindamerica.com.
Graham at grindamerica.com.
Graham@grindamerica.com. What else? Adultbrain.ca. Check out all the audiobooks, or you can just go to Audible or iTunes, wherever you do your audiobooks. Search Grimerica. It'll pop up. Grab them all. We got some great books out there now. Hamlet's Mill is out now. My book, Canadian Shame, out on audio. Which other one just come out the other day? Oh, you know which one has been selling more than I thought? Is
The Manifesto?
The Manifesto is flying off the shelf again.
Oh, awesome.
It's just flying off the shelf.
What do people search for the Manifesto?
Grimerica. If you just go to Audible
Yeah,
or iTunes
okay.
and search Grimerica, the problem with iTunes is all the podcasts show up. You have
Yeah.
to try and get into the audiobook section. I don't know how that works.
So can they just search Manifesto?
Or
come
just
up?
search Graham Dunlop
Ugh,
and everything he narrated will come up. This dude's narrated almost 20 books. It's crazy.
more than that. No.
You're going to be sought after soon.
No.
In some ways, I feel like I've just monetized your talent. I'm your manager. Oh yeah, go buy my new book. That's right. A CanadianShame.ca. I believe the package is getting delivered today with all the hard copies so that I can start sign them on. It's $29 Canadian because I can't ship them as cheap as Amazon. It cost me a fucking fortune to ship these things, almost as much as the book cost. Anyway, $29 Canadian. I'll send you a copy if you want a signed copy. If you don't care, you can get it much cheaper on Amazon. I don't care how you do it. Just to be clear, the only reason I ordered them is because people asked for them. There's a couple local shops that want a few copies. Anything else? I think that's it. We love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Who's gonna kill this sacred cow? You were never political anyhow. Since when did you start trusting in the government? Since when was it okay to ridicule and shame your neighbor? Your opinions have become as fickle as artificial flavors. What matters most to you? What the TV host told you to do? Or a moral compass that points true north, oh true? Who's gonna kill this sacred cow? You were never religious anyhow. Since when did you kiss the ring on the hand of the Pope? Since when do we need pharmaceuticals to cope? Your soul has become, ever-loving soul has become as brittle as communion wafers. What matters most to you? What the Holy Ghost told you to do? Or a moral compass that points true north, oh true? I'm gonna kill this sacred cow. Bureaucrats think I'm non-essential anyhow. Since when has our culture become so lowbrow? It's all touchscreens, and nobody has any know-how. Your idea of fun is taking 1,001 photos of your duck face. Matters most to you what the celebrities post told you was cool, or a moral compass that points true north, oh true. I'm gonna kill this sacred cow. I'm gonna kill your 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 sacred cow.
Okay, there we go. We had the new moon, dark sky, which is great. Had a planned camping, pitched a tent, went back there for the night. Crystal clear. Darkest night. Decided to read that meditation, did the singing bowl, and that shit starts happening. Pow, pow, pow. We started seeing flashbulbs. Streakers coming down. Graham Dunlop is he said it star. Graham Dunlop is he said it star. Blah, 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 blah.